and father of 3 performs vasectomy on himself as a gift for his wife. Quote, "I'm really brave."
Good boys.
Welcome to Good Boys.
Gross. Welcome to Good Boys. How's it going, Kylo?
Good.
Yeah?
I think good. I'm trying not to do that British thing where I'm just like, fine, everything's perfect. I'm trying to think.
Is that a British thing? Do you guys not?
I think we just say everything's fine always. Like, your house is burning down, it's fine.
Really?
You just got married, it's fine.
I
Everything's
thought it was
fine.
the opposite.
Really?
I thought you guys were like a mopey bunch.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, everything's just like, don't you think it's quite stoic?
I guess. I gotta say, I don't know a lot of IRL British people.
Yeah.
I should diversify
You should. Xenophobe, I think, is the word.
Yes.
You know, but
That's
we'll work
me.
on it. We'll work on it. How are you?
I'm great, I would say.
Great.
Everything is normal in the world. I feel protected. I feel good. I feel respected by the people that are in charge of, making sure I live a normal life. Yeah, I have no complaints in the state of the world right now.
Just in case, Monty's being sarcastic, guys.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I'm being sarcastic. We're recording this in January 2025, so crazy.
So everything's terrible.
Crazy times. By the time this releases, hopefully literally everything's perfect. Like every
in 4
bad
weeks?
thing goes away. Yeah, in 4 weeks.
We'll see.
But despite it all, I have managed, if you could believe, to be a good boy.
I believe it.
Yeah.
How have you been a good boy?
So I have this friend who recently had a really cool TV show that he's on. It's kind of like the #1 TV show on Netflix. And that friend is you. And
Thank you. I genuinely was looking at you like, oh wow, who? So cool.
and you have a really cool role in Night Agent. And
Yeah.
Night Agent is one of the shows that I binged. Season 1 was one of the shows that I binged while I was recovering from top surgery, along with some other recs I'll throw out. Such Brave Girls was another one that I loved.
Solid.
Binging in that time, and they just wrapped filming season 2, so I'm really excited for that one too.
Great.
And I forget what else, but Night Agent was a really cool one. And you're in season 2.
Yay.
Yay. So my good boy is, as soon as it dropped, I started watching it, and I was like taking pictures of my living room TV as if I was like at a concert. And so the episodes dropped. My good boy is that I watched it immediately, and I was taking pictures of my living room TV like I was literally at a concert. Like every time you like your arm was on screen, which is often because like you've got like your arms and
My
a gun, which
yeah.
is scary to see you holding a gun.
Super scary.
Also, I have a question that I'll ask in a second, but that was really exciting. You're in most of the episodes.
Yeah.
So
it's
my
insane.
good boy is that I was like really riding for you
Thank
watching
you so
that
much.
show.
And your good boy also was that you got the best. Maybe it's because you took 100, but you got the best still.
It's absolutely because I took 100.
It was so good. When you said it, I was like, damn, this is amazing.
I have the ones that don't have. I'll send you the originals.
Oh, great. Okay.
Can I ask you an inside industry question?
100%.
Do your like agents or like whatever studio you're acting for, do they send you your stills? Like, you know how on IMDb for a show,
Yeah.
it'll like have all the really good photography. Like, do you get that sent to you?
No.
Oh,
No, I don't think. Well, I've never been like the lead, but in the shows that I've been in, they don't send me anything at all. But my manager will go in and like take all my footage and like clip it.
Okay, cool.
And like, make it look all nice.
Yeah.
So I don't
For your
personally do it
reel.
For my reel.
Yes.
Exactly. And for IMDb and things like that.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Just wanted to check on that. Oh, so my question is, you one of your first lines is frag out. What does that mean? Because I was like, did he just drop the F slur? It's not fag, it's frag.
It's frag.
What does that mean?
FRAG. Here's the thing. I opened my script and I saw that word and I said, what is that? And I had to Google it, and I was chatting to a few people on set about it. So apparently it is a military term when you throw a grenade specifically to warn your team that it's happening. My question though, which I didn't get cleared up on set, was that doesn't that mean then you're warning everybody, even the person that you're throwing the grenade at?
Yeah, but like maybe you are, when I'm thinking every time I've thrown a grenade, it's further, and then my guys would be
close
next to me. So maybe that's what it is.
And I guess you're stopping them from like running forward.
And if you're throwing a grenade at me, I don't know what the fuck frag out means. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Me neither. I'd be like, what?
And I'm sure the average person that you're trying to blow up maybe doesn't. I don't 100%.
Know. Yeah. So that's my very first line, which was exciting.
That is.
And
exciting.
I learned a lot. Listen, I learned how to hold a gun. I learned how to throw a grenade.
Yeah.
You know.
Very exciting.
Fun time. So thank you for watching. Appreciate you.
If people are like, what's with all the weapons? It's a show about agents and bad guys.
Yeah. And no spoiler. Is this a spoiler?
It's no spoiler.
It's no spoiler. I'm a bad guy in it.
You're a bad guy, yeah.
That's all I'll say.
Yeah. And that's the other thing is like, you're a guy. It's not like explicitly said. I think when someone refers to you, they use he, him pronouns though, right? They're like, he's. Maybe I'm making that up.
We were all laughing. We were all watching it in a group of us, like doing like a watch party, and I'm like running after Rose, trying to kill her. No spoilers.
I was like, well, no spoilers.
I mean, I'm a bad guy.
Everyone's
whatever.
trying to kill Rose.
Everyone's trying to kill Rose and Peter. So that's the plot of,
Yeah.
of the 2 seasons. Anyway, so I'm running after Rose. I'm trying to kill her, and she's on the phone to
Yeah.
Peter, and
Yes, this is what it is.
And she says, and she's like, they're coming after me, and all my friends were like, dude, they like correctly pronouned you on the show, and I was like, I think that she's just saying like, the royal we is like trying to attack me.
Yeah.
And that's the only time. But you know, I've had a few people say to me, is the character trans, or is it a man? What is it? I don't know that it matters. You know,
I think you're in charge of the character, so you get to decide.
And like I think for interest, I guess originally the character was cast as a man.
Okay. Yeah.
So the role was a man's role, but they changed the name for me, which is Danny, spelled Dani. Important. Gender neutral.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it?
I guess. Yeah.
So who knows? So we'll see.
Yeah. And one other small detail that I think that we should address: you have a septum ring.
Which is the gayest thing ever. No?
Did you ever have one for real?
I've never had one.
Oh, okay.
I've had my nose pierced though.
Yeah.
But I've never had a septum ring. It felt, I mean, how honest can I be here? I'll just be honest. It felt fucking uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It was like annoying and itchy.
Yeah.
But I get that it went with the character and all those things. And,
Yeah.
you know, but I'm having to like sprint and sweat.
You were running a lot.
And this like septum ring is like in my nose, you know.
Yeah.
But that's all right.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, it didn't convince me to get one.
Yeah. I used to have a for real one.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. I took it out. Yeah, you knew me with one, but maybe you just forget. It's like one of those things that's like easily like it's not that
I feel like
huge of a
stuff
thing.
like that just becomes part of your face or
exactly. Because
something,
I took it off to prep for top surgery a year ago. So you knew me for like a year with the septum ring.
I'm so sorry.
No, that's like I'm not looking at your face. But I took it off because you can't have metal, for surgery. And then I was like, you know what? I don't like. I'm too grown for this.
Yeah,
So
I feel
that.
I feel that.
Because your boogers get crusted on it, and then you're like having to like scrape off crusted boogers, and you're like,
my
at what point? The funny thing about septum rings is people are always being like, they smell so gross. Like people don't clean. Like you know how people kind of are like, non-binary people wear septum rings, and non-binary people are stinky because they don't shower and they don't use deodorant. Like all these stereotypes.
Where does that come from? That stereotype.
I think a lot of non-binary and queer people don't wear deodorant. I think that it's kind of a fair.
Really?
Either that or they're wearing organic, which I would,
sure.
or like organic without the chemicals that have the fragrance. Which listen,
is
I've
better,
tried.
which is
I'm
better.
allergic to it. I get chemical burns on my armpits where it's like my skin starts flaking off if I use.
That's crazy.
I don't want to like use name, but like all the classic ones that you'd be like that are aluminum free and whatever. Anyway, I do think it's somewhat of a fair stereotype because some queer people are stinky.
Some people are stinky.
Yeah, but the thing I was going to say was like after I would like if I went down on someone, there would absolutely be, but I liked it because I'm like I'd
You
like
can smell it.
cuz I could smell it like for however long after. And I'm a little disgusting freak and I liked that.
That is hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that's funny. I don't know how we just weaved through, but there we go. So The Night Agent, watch it. Fun
Did
times.
you get your good boy in there or no?
No, I didn't. So
okay.
how was I good boy? How was a good boy this week? I don't want to like repeat stuff, but really what I've been diligent about gymming.
Yeah.
And I realized that I post this on my Instagram, but I'm trying to get a butt.
Mm-hmm.
Like I really want a booty, you know, and I don't have one. But what's interesting about that, I guess, is that I only just had this realization now. Before, and especially pre-transition, pre-top surgery, I was constantly trying to get my body as like straight up and down as possible. You know, I was trying to like reduce my hip size and my butt and increase my shoulders. And recently I've been like, I'd really love a butt. Why don't I have one? And so I've been going to the gym and trying to like work on that. And anyway, butt aside, I have been to the gym all week, feeling really energetic and good.
Every day of the week?
Not every day.
Oh, okay.
Because you need rest days.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I'm not. No, I was just going to be like, whoa. Okay.
No, like 3-4 times.
Yeah.
But focusing on like specific things and strength and honestly, I think the good boy of it is that I'm trying to just feel good in my body, whatever that body is, even though I can still have goals, but trying to feel just aligned and true to my body and not putting too much pressure on myself.
Yeah.
I think maybe it's an actor thing, maybe whatever, but or maybe it's just a queer thing or a person thing, but I just put a lot of pressure on my physical body to be a certain way all the time.
I think it's a British thing. British people are so obsessed with their body.
Oh my God.
All my British friends are saying this.
This is, with bad teeth. Perfect bodies, terrible teeth.
I didn't say it.
You thought it. You
No,
know?
I didn't.
So that's how I've been a good boy, I think. Trying to look after my body, be healthy, have goals but not be obsessed about them, and just like, you know, sit in the gymming of it all.
I think that's a great way to be a good boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been similar. I'm the opposite of you in terms of booty, where like I always wanted, as a girl, I had the big boobs and I was like, okay, but I have no ass. How do I get an ass?
Right.
And I had spent so much time praying for the boobs, so it's like, if I just pray for the ass. It never came until I started. It's not like it was tea or anything. I got an ass just like when I started presenting as mask, like when I was they them non-binary.
You just got one?
I think maybe just like, I don't know what the science is, but like maybe just like the stuff I was eating at the time, maybe just like went to my ass, or maybe it was always going to come and it just needed time. I don't know.
Right.
But I got this I have a giant, beautiful ass, but now I'm like, how do I walk behind guys on the sidewalk in New York City and I watch how like from their ankle to their butt cheeks, it's just the same fucking width.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
but this isn't
I would
necessarily
love
good.
that.
Well, most guys I know, most cis men will be like, you've missed leg day. Like,
I know,
totally.
you know what I mean? Yeah. And I don't mean like literally, but like maybe from the pant like to it, where I'm like, the butt cheeks are just like, they're thinner, not as in skinnier, but just like narrower.
Right.
But you know, what are you gonna do? My girlfriend loves my ass, and I guess that's what matters at the end of the day.
Exactly.
But what I've recently started to accomplish with my weight training and like gym is that I've gotten my shoulders and arms to the point where my silhouette or like my structure is
Like
shoulders
Bravo.
are wider than the hips, which was like one of my main goals when I started doing the training. And I was talking with my trainer like 2 nights ago. I was like sending them pictures of like literally like showing that I have that upside down triangle now, and they're like, fuck yeah, dude. Like, that's it.
No, it's amazing.
Yeah.
That's the goal, I think, for a lot of mass presenting people.
Yeah.
The Johnny Bravo, I call it. You know,
yeah,
you
I don't want
that?
to get too like yoked like that, where I look like you could push me over and I
just
top over. But no hate to people who look like that, but that's not my personal goal. I'd like to be as pretty neutral, just a dude. I've always wanted to be like a lanky dude, because that's always the dudes that I liked.
Right.
But
it's interesting, because I was thinking about this, like when I was a woman, I was so, look, and also I'm millennial, so I feel like things are shifting, which is really great. But when I was a woman, especially going through puberty and things like that, I constantly thought I just wasn't thin enough. And that thinness was my whole body. I was just trying to be as thin as possible. And I don't know how you feel about this, but as I've gone through transition, I almost feel like confused about what society's expectations are of me in terms of my body, how I feel about that. Because before I was like, okay, I'm a woman, I'm in a group of women, I want to be thin, I want to be tall, I want to be like model-esque, right? And then as a man, what is that? Should I be, in my mind, I'm like, I guess I want to be muscly and I want to be like stacked and I want to be really strong. But I think I'm still confused, or I haven't adjusted yet from this, from being like socially brought up as a woman. Now I'm basically constantly flipping backwards and forwards between, do I want to be like thin and lean? Do I want to be like stacked and like muscly? Do I want a butt? Do I not want a butt? Sometimes I pull on, like, there's certain weeks where I put on loads of muscle and I'm excited about it one day, and then the next day I feel like really bulky, and I feel like I'm in this constant, of course, transition, but this constant like journey of figuring out like how I feel good in my body.
Yeah.
And then you layer all this shit on top of like being on screen and, all the stuff that I do. It's like, I never know. I'm trying to not be pressured by all these things and figure out what I want. But I don't know if you found that through your transition.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, you grow, it's like, okay, 25 years as a woman where you're like constantly berated for your weight and your hair and like the clothes you like, literally everything.
Right.
Like like even things like, and I think I've talked about this before, like I have size like 11 feet, and as a woman that made me want to die.
Yeah,
and I know
same.
that sounds dramatic, but like I would get made fun of for it, like by
100%.
girls and boys, and my hands being huge and
Same.
like having long legs, like all of these things used to like literally keep me up at night. And now I'm like, well, it's
Great.
sick, but can we get them any bigger? Like,
Yeah.
like it's cool, but everything kind of changes. And I guess, yeah, like what I'm realizing is like, oh, there are totally beauty standards for, which obviously I knew this, but they're different and it's still intense. I'm like, a lot of trans masks that I know or just like see in the world are what I would want to aspire to, or at least before I was transitioning and before T has been in my body, I like, and it was like these like small framed bodies with like maybe not like abs, but like they're toned and like the scars are
super lean.
perfect. They're
Yeah.
lean and like, yeah, they're straight up and down. And I was like, because that was the representation I saw, I was like, oh, as soon as I go on T, what they say about like the fat thinning out and the fat redistribution, like I'm gonna look like that.
Right.
And I do not. And I gained 20 pounds. Some of it being weight. I think I mentioned this last time we recorded, but like some of it just straight up fat and then some of it muscle. And like before transition as a woman, I had done probably not all of the work, because I think there's always like work to do to like dismantle internalized fat phobia. And like, I guess what I did was I really did the work to dismantle the external fat phobia that I like grew up just being, you just have it. I'm like, I feel like
Right.
if you grow, like you just have it. The world trains you to hate like fat people. And I did a lot of work to, release myself of that for other people, but it's really hard to do it for yourself, I guess.
Totally.
Like I always have exceptions to rules for myself.
Yeah.
Of like, no, it's fine that person's doing that or looks that way or acts that way, but I can't like do
Totally.
it. So it's been this difficult thing of like between that and having those expectations, and maybe I shouldn't have had those expectations for myself before going on T, and I should have known like there's so many different ways to look, and in the back of my head I did, but I guess I just had these hopes.
It's also not your fault, because I think, to your point, what is the representation that we see?
Yeah.
What does the algorithm push to the top?
Yeah.
It's like I saw exactly the same thing. And you have this thing around, you're right, it's not just the weight, it's like how the scars look on the chest, and
Yeah.
the right
Nipples.
amount of hair, or like
Yeah.
whatever it is. And I completely agree with you. Like I think about like Wonderful, for example,
Yeah.
and I just think he's so sexy and like amazing and in his body, and I really aspire. Like I think I love how much he advocates for fat folks and how much he feels fantastic in his body, and I just don't understand why I can't extend that love and like admiration to
yourself.
myself.
Yeah.
100%. Like I put on a bit of weight and I'm like, oh no, I feel like this, and so
Yeah.
I need to do a better job, I think, at working through that and understanding it
Yeah.
still.
I'm just really trying to practice body neutrality, because also what had happened with the body positivity movement was like it then it started going like all the way one way, and like and a lot of what people are and like experts in the field advocate people who advocate for it are just like body neutrality, like don't fucking comment on someone's body. 100%. Don't like if they lose or gain weight, like if they lost a bunch of weight, like don't be so quick to like compliment them on it because maybe they're sick, like there's just basically neutrality. And so that's something I'm working on with myself with this weight. Listen, like I'll be transparent, I went to my physical on like January 1st and like I was 188 pounds, which was like the last time I had weighed myself, it was like 160. And so that was like with the tea and stuff. And it was just like, whoa. And my first thought was like, okay, do I need to do something about that? Like, is this something, or is this just natural with this new body because of the muscle and stuff? And what I'm prioritizing is not weight loss, but just proper nutrition. Because I was also in that same visit, I was deficient in some vitamins and some cholesterol and stuff. Right. So, anyway, that's how I guess I'm dealing with body changing.
I like the body neutrality thing. I also am trying to think about it of just not at any point comparing myself to a group. Yeah. Like a homogenous group of people. Mm-hmm. I think that we do a much better job as queer folks of sort of separating from what society wants us to do. Mm-hmm. And so we've got a really good head start on it. But I think we still do it. It's like if there's a certain group of lesbians or a certain group of trans guys, or and especially if they're if you're in a space where they're all the same race, or they're all, I think we're constantly in this position where we're comparing ourselves, and if you are different or a minority or have a different body type, it becomes the thing that isn't a good thing. And I realized this, like, not to keep talking about the show like I'm a wanker, but when I was on set, I feel like I went to set feeling, so I'd had top surgery. I hadn't like built up the muscle that I wanted, but I went to set feeling like good. I think in my body, I was like, you know what? I feel good. I feel more myself. Yeah. I had like a costume fitting and I thought, yeah, I feel like just better in my body. And then I get to set, bearing in mind, I suppose the set is in Bangkok. So, people with their shirts off, all this stuff, and all the beautiful, gorgeous men that I'm working with that are very, very ripped. And more than that, they're just big. They're just tall. They're just wide, And I remember feeling, all of a sudden, I started feeling good. I came in, I walked in feeling good, and I came out feeling inadequate or small, or like, how am I going to sell this character? And I want more like gravitas, and I'm not big enough, right? And then I start texting my trainer and being like, how do I get bigger? And what, and I started getting obsessed about this. And I spoke to, I don't think he'll mind me saying this, but the creator of the show is a guy called Sean Ryan, and he's really, really sweet. And I was chatting to him, and he said, he asked me how I was getting on, and whatever. And I said, and I was honest with him. He said, do you have any worries? And I said, I just feel like with all these big guys around, given my role, I just feel like I don't have as much like gravitas because of my size. And he said a really sweet thing. Like, he looked at me and said, remember that we cast you for you.
That's so nice.
And he said, and if we wanted a 6'5" huge cis guy, we would have just cast that. Yeah. Right? And there's this thing of just accepting you're good and fine as you are. And that highlighted it for me and was beautiful to hear. But then it's so hard to just like, to actually put it into practice. Yeah. You know what I mean?
That's so nice that he said that. Also, like, you're in a group of like bad guys. What if somebody needs to crawl into an AC vent? You know what I mean?
100%. Like, in fact, Sean, if you're listening, I'm sure that could be a scene. Yeah, that could be a scene.
Let me write a scene for Night Agent. Put your manager in contact with my manager. I bet, those like big jacked guys. Also, you probably run faster.
I definitely run faster, actually.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, that's true. In Bangkok, I was running faster. Yeah.
The other thing I want to say is they have like 30 plus years on you. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they've been having testosterone in their body and also like biological advantages. Like, so they've been doing it more like longer than you have. So that's the other thing to keep in mind.
Yeah. And I'm not even trying to pass, There's something about just sitting in I think as humans, it's always hard to sit in any in between, you know, because you're sort of pushed by society to get into one side or the other. So I think there's something as well about just sitting in the space that I'm in at the time that I'm in it, you know. And right now I just, you know, this is how I am, this is how my physical body is, and maybe I can just enjoy it for what it is, you know.
Totally. The other thing that I like that you said was like comparing yourself to like any one group, and I'm like, well, yeah, when I was, you know, a cis straight woman, I was comparing myself to like cis straight women celebrities, and what are they? White and thin. And then like 100%. And then when I was a lesbian, I was comparing myself to like the celesbians, white and thin. And then, you know, and each group. And then when I was non-binary, it was non-binary people. I was comparing so each identity that I've held, I've always compared myself to the corresponding group.
Exactly.
And so it's a natural thing to do, but God, wouldn't it be nice to not?
Exactly. I was talking to Em a little bit about this, and there's this idea of, there's this theory by Seth Godin. It's a marketing theory and it's about tribes, but I think it works psychologically too, which is your tribe is very dependent. How you feel about yourself is very dependent on your tribe. And put more simply, how you feel about yourself is dependent on who you are around, right? And I really feel this because we went to like a pride party last year, and everyone in the room was like a thin, white, Shane Elwood type looking lesbian. And I just felt so unattractive, you know, which, you know, obviously I need to go to therapy and it's whatever, and I'm working through it. But I think the reason I felt so unattractive is just because you look around and you're like, oh, this is what this room is validating as attractive. I am not that. I'm so far from that. That means I'm not attractive. Whereas like then, you know, last week I went to shout out to Masquerade. Have you been to Masquerade?
No. But I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's like a mask presenting strip pop-up night.
Cool, yeah.
It was amazing. And I went there, and then the room's super diverse. Masquerade.
Got it.
Yeah.
I just got it. Okay.
Yeah. and I in that room, one, there's more masculine presenting people. Two, not everybody's white. Everyone's different size bodies, different like representations, you know. And I feel all of a sudden just way more sexy. And I was berating myself a bit after, because I was like, yo, I should feel sexy at any point in any room, or I should try and feel good about myself in any room, you know. And it's hard to do it. I don't know if you find that in different spots.
Oh, all the time. I always feel that way. I don't have anything more to say, but it's just like, I'm always like, if I'm like with a bunch of like cis guy comics, I'm like, I'm the least, you know, guy out of this room. And then when I'm with like all my trans mass friends, I'm like, I'm the least cute one out of the group, or like, you know, like whatever it is. And it's hard to be kind to yourself, but we should try to be better with it. I think that listen, definitely over the years, I've gotten a lot better at it. I used to be so mean to myself.
You seem really good at it. Like, I feel like, I
think my life depends on it. At least some point, there was like a turning point of like, you either got to start to be kind to yourself, or like you're not going to make it. Right. Like, you know what I mean?
100%.
Yeah. So, and I think part of the kindness to ourselves is like doing these things of like fucking transitioning and like doing, you know, getting top surgery. And like part of that is also being kind to yourself. So that's cool.
Yeah.
Taking a risk for yourself. You have a corrections corner?
Oh, yeah.
From last episode?
I do have a corrections. Look, it's a correction to myself. Oh. Here's what I should be honest about first. Do you remember we were talking about It Ends With Us? Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. So the first thing is, I was like, I think I said something like, you know, I liked the movie. It was kind of chick flicky. I watched 70% of the movie. And the problem is I watched the extra 30% 2 days ago. And it is not a chick flick. Right?
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's very, of course, it's about,
it's traumatic. Yeah.
It's traumatic. And of course it's about domestic violence. And, I knew that in theory, and I thought because I hadn't watched the last 30%.
Is that where all of the abuse happens?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
Correct. Yeah. Because, I knew, I don't want to ruin it for anybody or for you, because you haven't seen it, right? But there's some domestic abuse sort of themes earlier on in the film, but they're not connected. They're not directly connected to the main characters. I'll just say that.
I see. Okay.
So I thought that's how they were running the theme through the film.
Okay.
But then when it gets to the last 30%, it's very connected to the characters, and it's actually really traumatic and actually really sort of threw and shocked me. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is actually all the all the controversy aside, this is a really deep, I would say important, difficult to navigate like storyline. But I will still yes and what I said, which was I did enjoy it. It's hard to say enjoy because it was quite a lot, and for me personally, like stuff that I've been through, and it was just a lot, but really, really important. And I almost then got extra sad about all the controversy because I was like, oh man, like guys, this could have been a really and it really highlights the women. It really there's this theme and sort of ending of just strong female like characters and empowerment. And I was like, we ruined that. We've like overshadowed that with like all this bullshit.
I think that's why so many people were so disappointed in it.
Totally.
And then I had this like fleeting thought of like, what if they're doing this to like demonstrate how quick we are to defend a man? You know what I mean? I was like, what if they're like doing this as part of the rollout of the film to be like to do this like obviously I don't think that's what they're doing, but I was like, what if? And then like it's this like social experiment of they're like having this public feud to then be like, and look, you guys chose the guy's side
again. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah. Are you gonna watch it?
Probably eventually, maybe.
Yeah, I don't want
but
to
you can say like listen,
spoiler alert for Motti aside, spoiler alert for the listeners. If you just skip ahead 30 seconds if you don't want to hear it. What's even more complex to me now is that he, you know, there is no he basically is perceived as the abuser in this film. And I think I hadn't fully understood that.
Is he not in the film?
No, he is.
Oh, okay.
It's really complex though.
Yeah.
No, he is, undoubtedly. He becomes it. You don't realize that though for 70% of the film, which is why that wasn't in my mind. And so you realize that he is. And then when I think about all the controversy too, I'm like, wait. So he produced this film, he directed it. It's about abusive men, and he's being an abusive man.
Yeah.
I don't know what I have to say about that. It just feels something feels completely off about it.
Yeah.
Not that that could absolutely be the case, and maybe, you know, you could argue both sides of the coin. Either maybe he's drawn to those things because they're dark sides of him, or maybe it's easier for people to see that in him because he played that character, which is scary for me too.
Yeah.
Like as an artist, you know.
Yeah.
But anyway, I feel like my corrections corner is it feels a little more complex. Even more so than we touched on last week, just finishing the film. Anyway,
it's very complex. I also now I've heard one of the voice notes that he sent her. Did you hear that?
Yeah, I heard that,
and I was like,
"What, dude? I know
that also, voice is such a performance." It sounded like I was listening to an erotic, like it sounds like you're listening to one of those like audio erotica things where a voice actor is intentionally trying to
like
have that thing in his throat. Yeah.
I don't
you probably
know.
have a baby on your boob. Don't say that.
I know. Also, there's something, you know, there's a very damaging, like, what would you call it? Saying or little snippet of, let me start again. There's a very damaging saying in sort of set world, which is like director is God, you know, like in theater, writer is God, usually playwright is God, but on set, in TV and film, director is God. That's sort of the general thing. And obviously everyone's going to be like, no, because the producer this and whatever. But in general, day-to-day life, that's what it is. The director tells you to do something, you do it. As an actor, you are just told, right? And so I guess that I heard that voice note and I just thought, the power structure is usually director, everybody else, and you shouldn't be voice noting any actor, anyone that was working for you at 2 a.m. with such... It doesn't matter if you have an intimate and talking about chemistry and things like that. It's just all not right.
It's so weird.
And it's outside the safety of the set. It's outside of the safety of like away from the intimacy coordinator and all these things. It's just not really done. Do you know what I mean? So when I listened to it, I just was like, this is, if I ever had the privilege of directing anything, this is the opposite energy of what I would give. Yeah. You know?
Totally. I remain in my stance that I think everyone involved has something.
Yeah. I agree.
Icky happening. It's just not a good.
Anyway, so sorry for that's it.
No, that's good. Why do you watch movies like that?
What do you mean?
Watch 70% and then shut it off, and then 2 weeks later you revisit
Very
it?
specific instance, which is the 70% I watched was on a plane.
Oh, got it.
And then
Okay,
it like
yeah, yeah.
landed and I was like, well, fuck, I have to like pick this up.
You're like, wow.
I was like,
That
what
movie
a fun
about a
movie.
flower shop is crazy.
Lily Blossom Bloom.
Yeah. For our visual listeners, do you want to hold yours up?
Oh,
For
yeah.
our visual listeners, just want to say season 2, we bumped that budget, baby. We've got, I don't know if you remember, we were using plastic knives taped to printer
Pieces of
paper.
Yeah.
But look, we've got little paddles now.
Little paddles. They're still they're still card,
Yeah, but it's like cardstock, baby.
but it's cardstock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's some heavyweight.
It is. So
Anyway,
we're excited.
that's exciting.
Let's go.
Okay, so my headline that I've picked out is Bishop Budd is unapologetic about confronting Trump over his treatment of LGBTQ plus people and immigrants. I don't know if you saw. Do you want to do this?
Good boy. I mean, good boy.
Yeah. Good boy. So I don't have because famously for first time listeners or people who don't pay attention, Good Boys in the News is where we pick out headlines, but it does not necessarily mean that we read the article.
It actually definitely means we haven't.
Yeah, and it's basically basing it off that. I guess it's a commentary on journalistic integrity as
Totally.
well,
Yeah.
of clickbait. But I saw this online and stuff. But basically, like Trump, his family, JD Vance, like they attended a mass, and the bishop was a woman, is a woman, and she basically was like, "And Mr. President Trump, I hope that you're gonna show kindness. I hope you show mercy to immigrants and LGBTQ plus people and trans people, like, and all these marginalized identities who are like facing, threats right now. Like, I hope you find it in your heart to show mercy." While he's sitting in the front pew of this mass, she's up there saying that, and I'm like, yeah.
I just
Catholic
loved
baby,
it.
Catholic baby. Like, I know I went
just
to
loved
Catholic
it.
school for a reason. And she's awesome. And then like I think maybe like a week later or something. Actually, I don't want to say that. So, but yeah. So to say it to him, also it's the irony. I don't know if this is irony, but like the irony of everything that he's kind of doing, use it like the anti-abortion and stuff, like under the guise of religion and God and stuff. So to have a religious leader say that to your fucking stupid face is so fun and amazing.
Yeah.
And shout out her.
Shout out. She was incredible.
Yeah.
My mum immediately sent me the clip.
Yeah.
My mum was the first person to send this to me. And was like, "This is amazing. Look at his face. He was unhappy."
Oh, yeah.
Him and Jay, they did not. They felt uncomfortable.
Good.
Wow. Yeah. Also, it's so brave of her.
Yeah.
I feel like that was such a brave thing to do.
Yeah. And I think she's had follow-ups of like, and I do it again.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think she's doubling down. But I wanted to, it's timely. So this might be, old news by the time this comes out, but I just think it's really cool and like exemplary of like, I think we're seeing a lot of places, like for instance, like I'm not going to get into all of this, 'cause again, like it's just not, I don't know. I don't want to go through like everything with executive orders and everything right now. I think we're hearing enough of it, and I want this to be a place where we can kind of escape from that. But with the passport stuff, I was having a conversation with someone who's like really like social justice, like boots on the ground. And it's like the state, like the people, these smaller agencies who get these memos from Trump and from the newly elected leaders to say, hey, stop processing passports. It's like, what if you just didn't fucking listen? Like,
right.
Why are we bending the knee? Like, at what point can we go against it and exercise these, like, because like what will be will you get fired or will you get a slap on the like at what point will these people who are reporting to the government say actually no? And I think that's when we have a chance at change and revolution and everything. But obviously it's scary because we're put in a position where like if we lose our job we could be homeless the next day,
Totally.
like there's so much riding on it. But and I think this is kind of an example of like someone who's probably expected to fall in line and has decided not to, and I think that that's really cool and we can all learn something from her.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. And that was going to be my point too, of where can we push while keeping ourselves safe.
Yeah.
You know, it would be nice if all the local the local officers did that, but I feel like it would have to be everybody at once.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
to make it safe, it. But anyway, good boy.
Yeah, good boy.
Good
Thank
boy,
you.
Bishop.
Also,
thank you so much.
She's listening.
She is.
She listens to Good Boys. We'll send her a hat.
I love that. Send her this paddle. She's like, I don't know when I'm going to use this. Okay. My headline. Surgeon. This is a bit of a curveball from yours. Okay. Surgeon and father of 3 performs vasectomy on himself as a gift for his wife. Quote, I'm really brave. Motti's.
I'm gonna say good boy, despite that last little bit.
Yeah.
Did it on himself?
He did it on himself.
Did he have to do that?
Okay.
Did you read this article?
Look, I had to because it was just too.
You did?
I read Alex skimmed it because I was like,
yeah.
I have to figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
So this guy, I mean, he obviously
American?
No, actually,
I knew it. Americans aren't brave.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I believe he's Vietnamese. He obviously performs this regularly. He's a surgeon, and he decided to perform it on himself. He like numbs his own genitals, and he basically videoed it.
Wow.
And it's
like
similar,
a GoPro on his.
It's like it's similar to that of like a cooking video, but he's just like, and then you do this, and then you do this, and it had like very bizarre specificities in the article. Like it usually takes 10 to 20 minutes, but it took 3 times as much because it was on myself and things like this. Anyway, I just thought it was super interesting, and the reason he said I'm really brave, well, yes, it's a very brave thing to do, but also he said he did it a lot for educational purposes.
Yeah, that's
to
great.
Talk someone through, and I don't know. I think good boy too.
I think. Listen, I mean, at the root of it, like I'm so pro like give people with penises vasectomies instead of expecting people that can get pregnant doing all the fucking work and all the procedures and spending all the money and taking pills and putting copper inside of that. Like, so I do think that's good. I think they probably sensational by being like, I'm so brave to get the reaction that you got out of me. But no, I think that's good boy. And I think exemplary of like, listen, I don't want to like blow it up too much, but like it's somewhat radical of like the vasectomy and doing it on yourself, and also wanting to educate people on it. I don't think people should be doing at home vasectomy.
Yeah, that was at the bottom of the article. It was like, do not do this.
But I do think that's cool, and I think more men and people with penises who are doing that should talk about it more and say like, yeah, I mean, like maybe it hurt or I'm sore or like whatever, but like I'm doing it, and you should tag 3 of your friends. They should get a vasectomy.
Right.
But I think that's cool. That's cool, I think.
Yeah, I think it's cool.
Yeah.
Interesting. And it
you
got
have
a lot
mixed
of
feelings.
I don't know. I read it and I just thought, was there any need to do it on yourself?
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Was that risky? But then sometimes I'm like, how do you get people, to your point, if we put the most beautiful lens on this, maybe he was trying to get a lot of eyeballs on this so that people understood that this was an option and that it's normal and that you can get it done.
Yeah.
And so doing something like that is sensationalist, but it makes people read the article and educate people, and that's cool.
Yeah. Good boy, I say.
Yeah. I agree. I wonder what his wife thought. I wonder if his wife was like, what?
Yeah.
I wonder if his wife was like, get your penis off the internet.
Yeah.
Why have you done that?
Wait, so where was he able to publish that where it's okay to show his penis?
I actually don't know. We should check. I don't know.
WebMD. Do you know about WebMD?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think that's
sorry,
global.
xenophobic.
Yeah.
You think it's what?
It's global.
Oh,
I
yeah.
believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
The other thing is
like, did British people know about medical stuff?
No, because WebMD is not famously is it's the most American thing to me, because instead of going to a doctor, people are just putting their symptoms into some kind of robot,
right,
and being told that they're going to die in 3 days. Like that is the most American thing I could think of.
By the way, and I want to be honest about this because it's actually been helpful, but caveat. I'm oh
my God.
I know I'm not a tech bro. I'm not an AI person. Well, I basically took I use Claude instead of ChatGPT. We can talk about why. Let's not get into it. But I loaded up. So Claude has these like projects, and I loaded up every single blood test that I've ever had from my doctor, all of my test results from the past like 3 years. And then I gave it like context and just said like, you know, this is how old I am. I had this when I was at, you know, this surgery when I was 18. I just had top surgery. I'm trans. Like, this is my goals, like whatever. And once I'd loaded up into that, I then, anytime I have an issue, I was like asking it questions with that context. And it's just been so helpful. And I don't want it to be more helpful than my doctor here in the US, but it has been more helpful than my doctor here in the US.
Okay, cool.
But I think that like it probably, and I wanted to be honest about that because it feels like a free resource of like, definitely don't listen to everything it says, but like to have some context, or sometimes it's really reduced my anxiety.
Okay.
Because I've been like, oh, I'm feeling really anxious, or this has happened, or this has happened. And they've been like, oh, you know, looking at your blood tests, it could be that you are low in magnesium, for example, and maybe that's not gone up yet. You need to retest it, or whatever it is. And so anyway, I don't want to go off track, but I thought of it as not replacing any human, because I think it's so important to have the rapport and like a doctor that understands you and gets you and has the experience of it. But as this like additional tool to like direct you know, you and your own journey. I've been sort of playing with it in that, and I'll come back to people in a few weeks and see if it's truly been helpful, because it's early days, but it's been an interesting side tool to the doctor that I have, and marginally better than WebMD, because at least I'm putting my own data in there. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Who knows? I'm sure someone's going to say that's, you know, I've given all my data to the man, and
you know, I wasn't gonna say. I don't know who the man. I don't know. They have our data, so it's all like
totally
our data's for sale. So, what are you gonna do? 2 good boys in the news.
2 good boys.
We
in the news.
really needed that now.
We need to find some bad. No, we don't.
We don't.
Enough.
Listen, we know that there's bad boys.
Yeah.
We're hoping that this can be a little bit. Listen, if you're coming here for your political, you know. Go listen to the Daily. We hope that Good Boys is a little respite from the craziness going on. Tea time. This brings us to tea time.
Tea time. Let's go. You go. Tell me.
So all of the pretty much like, you know, weekly you know, not a lot is changing, but something funny happened, which is I had mentioned last episode. I'm working with a nutritionist now, and we were talking, and it's so funny because she lives in Texas. We do this remotely. And, you know, she's like probably around my age. I hope she doesn't listen to this. I'm not saying anything bad about it, but I'm just talking about it. Well, just because I'm referencing her. And we went through like the stuff that I accomplished, because like we're working on like diversifying my meals and meal prepping and stuff like that, to make sure that I'm not in a position where like I skip a meal because I worked through lunchtime and then I didn't have anything and I had to run out the door, you know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so we went through that, and then she was like, also, I just wanted to check in, you know, with being on testosterone, a lot of my clients who are on testosterone. And at first I was like, you have a lot of clients who are on testosterone. And like, I thought that was cool because we're such a small population, but there is so many of us at the same time.
Right.
But it's just cool that she like knew a thing, and she told me something that I didn't know. And she was like, around this mark that you're on testosterone, a lot of guys report that like they, you know, start getting kind of stomach cramps and have like a lot of diarrhea. And like they start to have like a little bit of, I don't think like in perpetuity, like I don't think that means like forever, but maybe there's a mark in it that maybe that's when metabolism changes or something like that. And I told her, and I was
having that.
Well, so I said to her, and that this was on Saturday afternoon, and I was like, oh, like, sorry to those guys, not me, no problem. Literally the next day. And also I did get my period, but like I usually don't have cramps on my, I don't know, but I did start getting like cramps and having diarrhea.
No way.
And I was like, wow, I was bragging that this didn't happen. I do think there's overlap with my period.
Okay.
But it was just like funny, the timing, where I was like, no, not me. Must be one of the lucky ones. And like the next day I was like fighting for my life on the toilet. And now when I meet with her next, I'm going to be like, Taylor, you're never going to believe it. I shit my fucking brains out. But my
hilarious.
Poops are, I was going to say bowel movements, and that made me want to die. My poops have been getting, because they changed for a second and then they got worse, and then like whatever, because I have very regular bowel movements, like I never am. I had said in season 1, like I never have an emergency. I had one emergency where I was at the grocery store and I had to like sprint home, but like they're pretty planned, you know, 1 in the morning, one, you know, like it's
Right.
normal. And then it started getting a little abnormal, but like on the constipation end.
Okay.
And then now I feel like I'm having healthy poops again.
Okay.
I know that's a
thought-
lot of TMI, but it is a thing that has to do with
No,
tea.
I mean,
So
I was going to say, I thought you were going to go down the route of saying that like your poops are getting more and more crazy and erratic. And I was like, oh, do men just have like,
people say that will happen though.
oh, really?
Like you have man shits.
And that's a thing?
But I wonder
Bio-
how much
like-
that has to do with the tea, like the science of the tea, and how much that has to do with like
Food.
so many tea guys like start, you know, like doing like raw chicken and eating beef and shit like that. And I'm a vegetarian, so I'm not doing that. But
Got it. Okay.
so I wonder which. I'll ask her. I'll ask her next time.
Ask him, report back.
Yeah.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
I think I want to talk a little bit about hair because I still don't have any. Really.
Okay.
But what I realized, well, firstly, there's definitely none on my face, but I don't think I'm taking enough tea for that to occur yet for me. And
Okay.
I don't know, you know, I know it's a very personal thing. But I realized that looping back to what we were talking about earlier about being socialized as a woman, I got my whole body like laser hair removal. I got laser hair removal on my whole body
Yeah.
when I was a woman.
Like everything.
So not so that everything was gone, but I kept struggling when I was a woman with ingrown hairs
Oh.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, you know, on my genitals, on
Yeah.
my legs, just in general, because I have really thick hair.
Yeah.
And my solve for that, which I think was the absolute, in hindsight for me, incorrect solve, which was I will just get, you know, I think at the time someone told me there were like 15 sessions or 12 sessions to completely remove your hair. And I was like, great, I'll do like 6. You know what I mean? To like thin it out and just like, you know, at the time I was like, I'm never going to want it. It's whatever.
Yeah.
And I got, you know, so all my legs, you know, everything around my junk.
All your legs. All 3 of them.
I meant from the
I
very
know.
tippity top
Yeah,
to
yeah.
the ankle, but yeah, all 3 legs, and under my arms,
Yeah.
and just you know, everywhere.
Wow.
And I'm like massively regretting that if I'm honest, especially now because I've started to really like the hair on my legs and
Yeah.
like the hair under my arms, and it's definitely there, but it's like super thinned out and you can't really notice it, you know. Maybe there's a trick to try and get hair growth to come through without testosterone.
I wonder
know.
if you took minoxidil, which is what a lot of people take along with their testosterone to like prevent the hair loss and also to encourage the facial hair and stuff. I wonder if
would
that's
create more
powerful enough to like override the laser, but I don't
Interesting.
know.
I'll check that out.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I keep thinking of these moments of these decisions that I've made as a woman and now they're impacting me as a trans guy, you know?
Yeah.
And that's one of them, I think. And trying to understand if I even want, it's interesting to me. You didn't mind about the facial hair, right? You were just like, if it comes, whatever.
Yeah.
Were you excited about it?
It's pretty cool. I mean, it's so like straggly and weird right now, but I'm just like, I haven't shaved or like trimmed in like 2 weeks, I think. And I'm kind of just I'm just like, whatever, I'll let it rock just to see how it fills out. Also, every time I trim, I fuck up somehow and I trim too much and then I go low and then
Right.
I get rid of it and it's annoying. But I was like, but I just had a feeling I would get it because like my brother has an insane beard,
Right.
but also a bald head. So I was
Okay.
like, this is what I will have
Right.
to look forward to. Also, it's maternal, I think. And my grandfather, I never met him, but my mom's dad had like one of those very classic male hairlines where it's like it comes up in the front, but
Yeah,
then
yeah,
it's
yeah.
back, like the like a, well, it's not a widow's, but you know where
I know
it's
what
like
you
that
mean, yeah.
crazy one. I can tell from pictures, but yeah.
Yeah. So I'm trying to figure that out. Do I want it? Should I put more energy into getting it? Does it matter? Did you ever worry about, and I think if Britt and Emma here, they'd be like, show your face, we love you unconditionally. But did you ever worry about Britt's perception or like how she would feel about your facial hair and things like that?
Well, her ex-husband like had a full like beard and like was like
Right.
fully had a big beard. We don't look like, if you just break it down to facial features, him and I don't look entirely dissimilar.
Right.
Just that like, you know, white guys with like nose, you know,
Sure.
but No, I think I had asked her like if she liked like hair or whatever, and she was like, "Yeah, I'm like indifferent about it." Um,
But I guess
she
what
also,
about passing? What about like passing as a straight couple versus like? Would you
oh,
think it might it would remove some of her queerness walking down the street?
I don't think so. I don't think so because I think we've talked about this before where like I want to find other ways to be like I'm trans, like I don't want to ever be I mean, knock on wood with again the current state of affairs, but like I don't ever want to have to be stealth. Like I want to somehow cue that I'm trans in some way.
In some way, yeah.
I like passing, but I don't ever want to be stealth about it personally. So yeah, I don't know. No, I don't think that's come up. Also, the interesting thing with Brit is like both with my body changing. Like, so I had gone through photos from like right after top surgery where like I'm like, oh my. Granted, I was like 2 weeks bedridden, you know, recovering. But those photos where like I got my drains out and I took photos in the mirror for the first time, and I was like, what a twig. Not just like with my like body weight, but like I was like, oh my god, I got shoulder like in this 1 year.
You've gotten like
I'm like, yeah, like I've just
shoulders.
like I've ate a fucking Mario mushroom and I've just like doubled up and like yeah, between like the and so she's looking at it, and we say this with my voice where she's like, because we're with each other almost every day and we live together and she hears me talk every day, it's harder. And I think this is what parents say about their kids, where they're like, if you have a kid, these you don't notice how these changes
Right.
and like how much your kid is growing, but then like if you have your friend who only sees you and your kid every 3 months, every time they see them, it's going to be like, whoa,
Yeah.
your kid's fucking huge now, or like it can talk now. And I think that's the same with the people in your life, like as you're transitioning, where because she's hearing my voice until she listens to a video of mine on TikTok from like 3 years ago, she's like, I can't believe you used to sound like that when we started dating.
Right.
She's like, I don't even remember your voice sounding like that, and I don't realize how deep your voice is now. And
Right.
it's the same with my body changing, and I think it's also the same with my facial hair, where like she won't really notice it until I'll be like, here's how it looked a year ago, and then she'll
Right.
and then it'll click.
because it's slowly coming.
Yeah.
Every day. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
So I don't know. Can I ask, because you've mentioned it before and because I'm xenophobic, what's the deal with like Jamaican hair? What would it be, like Jamaican DNA and hair? Like, are y'all a hairy bunch or a not hairy bunch?
I think maybe someone correct me, but from my experience, I actually think we're not that hairy.
Okay.
So there's that too. That probably, who knows if it's the laser, because it's been so many years as well. Maybe it's just because I just am not super super hairy.
Yeah.
And I think about my sisters. Like one of my sisters hasn't had laser, and she's not really hairy. Although I think she has like my white side. Like her hair is like my mum's, who's white, whereas my hair tends to be is like my dad's.
Okay.
So I think you're right. That's a great point, which is it could just be. I think it's the laser, and it could just be a bit genetic, and I just need to accept.
Yeah.
Either way, I need to accept it.
Yeah.
This is what's going on. You
That's
know.
true.
But for some reason, yeah, I don't know. I'm a little scared still, if I'm being honest, of facial hair. And I don't know why that is, and I'm trying to like tease that out. And that's what I was asking you about. It's a change.
Also, like I do think it would change the way like my face shape is, because it's something taking up a lot of real estate on the face. And I'm even thinking, I'm like, I don't want it to make me look more square or like have a smaller head, because I'm thinking about it too. I'm just kind of like, I'm letting it rock for now.
Right.
Also, I'm Irish Italian, and like that is a hairy bunch too. So like I'm also genetically
You're like, I'm going to be hairy.
yeah, I'm gonna be hairy for sure.
Yeah, I need to like, I guess I have this like fear in the back of my mind too, and I'm sure if she was here, she'd say no, but less about my current partner, but in general, I've often dated women that are their identity is very connected to being queer, which is valid, especially when they've dated men before, they're bisexual, and they've dated cis men before, then they want to be integrated in the queer community and be perceived as queer.
Yeah.
And I worry sometimes like what my transition does to that balance.
Yeah.
And back
she
to
would
the
tell you
point-
to shut up.
She would tell me to shut up. And,
But I
back
get
to,
it,
but
I
that back
get
to
it.
that point too of like being in those lesbian spaces and not
Yeah.
quite feeling like I belong, and she really feels like she belongs in there, and like what
Yeah.
that means, you know. But yeah, she would. She's always telling me to shut up, and she's correct. Love
Yeah.
you. My T level is, my doctor tells me, at the very, very, very top of
Mm-hmm.
a person born female. It's like the very top of that band that it could possibly be. And so now I need to make the choice. Do I continue going up? I think that's when I'm going to start seeing this, like these changes, you know?
Okay, cool. Awesome.
We'll see. Thanks.
Cool. Well, good boy, Kylo.
Good boy, Motti.
Yay.
Yay.